These 3 secrets are brutal and will get you weird looks, but they will nevertheless aid you in becoming stronger, more flexible, and more powerful than 99%. And the first of these secrets is to upgrade your grinder moves. Grinder moves are the superficial moves we grind through to the point of exhaustion in our training and that do not specifically elevate our strength and skill. They make up 99% of people's workouts. Here, this graph will make it easier for you to visualize and understand this. The horizontal axis plots how ordinary to unique a move is. The vertical axis plots how superficial to sophisticated a move is. Grinder moves are moves that fall within the bottom left quadrant, ordinary and superficial. For example, we might train upper body with a bunch of push-ups or bench press. Push-ups and bench press are ordinary, superficial grinder moves. Or we might train barbell squats for legs. Squats are grinder moves. Pull-ups, jogging, cable crossovers, kettlebells, all grinder moves. We pulverize the incredibly powerful and beautiful design of human movement down into superficial, generic, cookie-cutter exercises. On the one hand, the best strength and skills practitioners instead source their moves from the upper right quadrant, and this leads to greater strength, flexibility, athleticism, and sustainability long-term for life. These are moderately sophisticated moves that are beyond the ordinary movement vocabulary of most people, where moves are the individual words of your physical language. And people don't often employ them in their training because it's not easy and they expose weak links, but they also build them. If I were to ask you how you worked out on Monday, you might say you did chest and triceps and used a variety of exercises like bench press, tricep extensions, and push-ups, plus a little core and cardio. A more sophisticated training session might have implemented muscle-ups for strength, flares for power, vaulting for skill, and a basic free run kata for rounds of cardio. I've been able to replace my and my students' grinder moves at Pacific Rim Athletics with moves of greater uniqueness and sophistication, thus overall strength and skill, by following this easy process. Step number 1 is to select a grinder move you typically resort to for your workouts. To help you with this, I've aggregated the most common grinder moves into a chart that's on the screen right now. Let's say we choose plank. It's an easy example. Have you heard some people hold a plank for like 5-10 minutes long? It's just like the 100 push-up thing and stuff like that. But step 2, identify the goal of the grinder move. For example, are you using plank to build strength, power, endurance, muscle mass, or in a dieting context? Imagine it's for just general strength. Step 3, find a unique, sophisticated alternative. Here's 2 methods. Option 1 is to use the variable control approach. This is simply changing one aspect at a time. Here, just bend the knees until they float into a crunch planche. And instead of doing plank for freaking 5 minutes that doesn't really accomplish anything, try to float for 60 seconds for 5 rounds, 1 minute rest in between. The same 5-minute aggregate as the plank, but really grinding though, dragging feet, gritting teeth and all. And like I said, this will be brutal, but it can also grow all the way to handstands and beyond. Option 2 is to use the level up approach. This is combining grinder moves into unique, sophisticated series of moves. An example is leveling up from the push-up to a handstand kata, which includes a series of basic moves. The transitions are where the magic is at. Either way, the goal is to find higher level moves that are just a little outside your comfort zone. Rather than sticking with the same old mainstream and only dabbling with something new, consider making this the new 80% and bulk of your training. Step number 4, continue to swap out moves to increase your vocabulary over time. Yes, people are going to look at you strange, but we don't want mediocre, we want maximization. For real though, you do this for a couple of months and they'll be asking you how to do it. Now I mentioned the muscle up as a more unique, sophisticated move. However, the same problem can happen to the muscle up in any other move. In fact, I know several people that will do muscle ups every time they're in the gym because they're good at them. They've taken a unique, sophisticated move and turned it into a grinder move. Don't do that. We don't want to stay stuck. We want to continue growing as humans. And don't mistake videos for actual instruction, since that sometimes causes more problems than it solves. The 4-step process invites the question though, how do I start advancing? This leads me to the second brutal secret that will put you in the top 1% of strength and skills movement practitioners. If you watch the most advanced strength and skills practitioners, you'll notice how they have patterns in their movement, sequences that they repeat. Take parkour, for example. It's always existed as human movement, okay? I can remember doing wall runs and flip drops before internet video even existed. But David Bell was the person who named it and brought it to the world. And when you watch his videos, you'll see his drops, speed vaults, and rolls repeated as patterns. In breakdance, this is called a set. Here's a famous set by one of the strongest b-boys, Junior. And you'll see him repeat these patterns and moves throughout his work. And when I do this 2-move dyna combo, the flare to 540 kick from Powerbatics, it's the construction of several words into a sentence. Yet look closely and you'll see the planche and V-stand that create the flare, followed by a lunge that generates the power for the outside crescent kick, which goes airborne, followed by the inside crescent kick, landing on one leg. But when I train, it's not the individual parts, it's all just one giant move. It's the same as when we speak in full sentences. And this is done for reps spread across weeks, months, and years of brutal training. It's fun though. From martial artists like Jackie Chan to cirque artists, to Mike Tyson on the heavy bag, to freestyle skateboarding like Rodney Mullen, many of the world's best strength and skills movement practitioners used a similar technique. But here's the secret. Not settling for the superficial or the ordinary, but rather evolving a little each day into unique, sophisticated, powerful poetry. Now, when we train, for most people, the average workout looks like this. A line graph that looks pretty flat and boring. A bland warm-up, some vague strength, maybe some uninspired cardio, and if we're lucky, a futile 5-second stretch or two. And that's okay, there's nothing wrong with working out like this. For 99% of people, it's good enough to get by. But there's absolutely no denying that those who use fresh, progressive training over time develop enhanced, higher level strength, skill, and movement that's both physically challenging and intellectually stimulating.
Ooh, nice.
And that they enjoy doing for the rest of their lives. Here's a typical workout scheme you might know. Monday, chest and tris. Tuesday, bicep and back. Wednesday, core. Thursday, shoulders. Friday, legs. Each day there's the same 5 rote exercises like bench press, decline, incline, tricep extension, and push-ups. Let's say you work out for 30 years. That's literally the same 25 moves, and done for 5x5, that's 4,875,000 reps of the same 25 moves. And people wonder why they've got aches and pains and are burned out and bored. Training like that would be the equivalent of a 1.5-year-old child with a speaking vocabulary of only 20 words. I guess in today's TikTokification of culture, that's the new normal. Just kidding, but seriously. Listen though, even a 2-year-old has a 200-word vocabulary. Now imagine a different scenario. Let's take the same moves I mentioned before, but add some numbers. Total of 5 rounds of 60-second crunch planche, 10 muscle-up singles, flares, perhaps just around the worlds for 30 total, vaulting, which I really can't get into here, but 25 different vaults, and then a basic free run kata for cardio. Instead of a flat, boring line, it now has a heartbeat. It's like music. Training with more unique, sophisticated moves allows you to create a 90-minute block of creative, inspiring training punctuated with bursts of powerful progress. I want to share one final thought that will aid you in building powerful movement. Converting that dull, flat line of typical human movement into the epic, inspiring line of strength and skill isn't accomplished merely by swapping out moves with more advanced ones. That dull, flat line is characterized by redundant and bloated workouts. Bloated workouts are the greasy fat saturating your training that makes you feel uninspired, heavy, and distended. 3 habits cause this. First is fillers, not meat fillers, but exercise fillers. The big 5 fillers are push-ups, squats, deadlifts, bicep curls, and burpees. Now I know to many these are the holy sacraments of fitness, but the sacred cows often take up the most space and keep people from progressing to heights they didn't even realize existed, let alone were possible. Like huge drops, flips, incredible movement. But it won't happen if a person has so much leg soreness from squats they're prostrated before the shrine of fitness. I mean squat rack, and they're too scared to not curl at the confessional. I mean preacher stand. Jokes aside, second is redundancy. Your training is like a garden. It's literally what you do to vines. You train them. Weeds are the repetitive moves that choke the life out of your training. Third is functionality. After watching this video, people will replace everything I said with functional fitness. That's not it at all. It's purposefully putting yourself in places that require change and demand adaptability. If you're not adapting, you're dying. None of these greasy, bloated workout habits are criminal acts, but if you want to achieve greater strength and skill, I suggest 3 actions. Number 1, thinking about the moves you want keeps you from reverting back to the grinder moves and the same old paradigm, like doing bench press because it's chest day or squats because it's leg day. Push yourself further, not with weight or reps, but with something actually new. Number 2, get the move, not the pump. The move is all that matters. When you focus on the new move, everything lights up. Mentally, physically, all of it. Number 3, don't train to failure, train to success. I will discuss this more in the future, but needless to say, you don't practice a language to failure with nonsense words, do you? You start with a mess and you practice until you speak the language cleanly and fluently. Training should never be done to failure, but to success, which rewires your mind and body. The bottom line, let's stop hovering on top of the tepid, superficial waters of working out and build towards unique, sophisticated training of strength and movement.